Hey y'all, it's your girl Sia, and I'm back with another video. Y'all, I'm actually gonna have to rename this title at some point when I get a chance and remember. I did want to speak on having a father in the home, versus resources, right? I know a lot of people have this mindset that if a child is born to a single mother, and has an absent father, the child is most likely to grow up a certain type of way. Okay. And I want to bring this up and really address it because I've always asked myself if I would be the woman. Well, I've always told myself that once I make a certain amount of money and I'm bringing a certain amount of money into the household, whether I'm married or not, I still know that I want to raise a child. And so it's very interesting because there are so many different views on this. But I really think, and this is my personal belief, right? I had a friend who recently asked me to do a video about Ebony K. Williams, and their opinion is going to differ from mine at this time. Um, it is my belief that children aren't necessarily raised poorly because of the single family dynamic as much as it is to the lack of resources, right? I truly believe that if a person was to have a child, right, and they were able to pay for the resources necessary for that child to thrive, it is my belief that that child is going to thrive. Okay. Whether there is a father in the household or not. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of single mothers that I know that were lacking in terms of resources, perhaps a family structure, lack of economic wealth, stuff like that, of course, their children would be more prone to being a certain type of way, as a result of just growing up in poverty, right? And so that is my mindset. I don't believe that having a father in the home is the end all be all, okay, to raising decent children, because there's no outline for what that father figure should be. And a lot of times when I look at men, and this is my biggest takeaway from, my experience as a mom and going through the court process, right, and seeing what happens to other people, right? It is my belief that men thrive when it comes to like the child. I would say this. It's because, like, if you're dealing with a divorce, right, or whatever, and the children end up going with the man, right? Nine times out of 10, the man makes more money and he is on paper more stable than the woman. And when I say stable, I'm not talking about mentally and emotionally. I'm talking about financially, okay? So a lot of times men already have that established when they are, when they had that stuff established. So when they go to court, it's easier to beat the woman. I don't necessarily feel like if a woman was on an equal playing field and or made more money, I don't necessarily know if some of these things would be happening the way that they're happening, right? In my situation, and even if he made on paper, he was stating that he made less than me a little bit, but he does make more than me. Um, and on paper, he has a house, he has land, he has his cars. You see what I'm saying? So it looked like he was the better candidate based upon the stability of both parties. I wasn't stable, he was, okay? And so that um in itself does tremendous wonders when it comes to raising children. And then two, men are most likely to go ahead and hop into something new, be in a new relationship, right? And as in my situation, manipulating the woman to get the needs that he needs met, right? Whereas I wasn't necessarily going to do that. That that's not really my personality type, right? So I don't believe that men necessarily do a better job at parenting as much as it has to do with the fact that men are stable. A lot of times when you're talking to men and they're in these situations, not all the time, right? Obviously, there are those men that just don't fight for their kids, and or they're not making much money. But the men who do fight for their kids are very fight, and I don't know in comparison to the woman, but they are financially stable for the most part. And so that is my belief as to why children do, at least what it appears to be on the surface, do better when living with men, right? Now, that's not to take away from the dads that are actually good fathers and they're actually actively involved with their children and their upbringing and stuff like that. But on the surface, I would say that that's the primary reason, right? I don't think the courts give a damn about how you parent your kid as much as they care about your ability to parent your kid. Okay. So I think that when we look, and I haven't done the research, but I was curious to see if there was any correlation between these fathers and children in the fathers' homes and stability, right? Because ultimately, what I've seen is it's most easiest for men to become stable than it is women. And that's only because of the career paths that men are most likely to get into or venture into versus women, right? I feel like any male at some point can learn electricity or electric work, be an apprentice, become a mechanic, stuff like that. Whereas a woman's position is more based on, in our careers, it's more based on previous work, right? Your previous experience, what you've done. Like you got to kind of, it's more competitive, but in a different way, right? So I just feel like that's just been my experience and what I've seen. I don't know if that's the case, but I do believe that women can raise, single-handedly raise good children, right? We see them all the time. It's not like they don't exist. But the difference between those women and others, right, is some of those women may have, gone through a couple marriages throughout their life, right? But what I've noticed is the biggest thing is these women have money, they're financially stable. So, meaning that they're able to give their kids a lifestyle that a man necessarily can't necessarily give their kids. And I think in that aspect, I think that women are more than capable of raising children, good, wholesome, well-to-do off children by themselves. But I also think that it takes a village, right? And that's something that we always, refer to, is that it does take a village to raise a child. And so obviously that woman is not just raising the kid on her own. And if she is, she's making an income to where she can sit at home and pour into that child the way the child needs to be poured into, right? Otherwise, she's hiring people to come in and help to raise that child. And when I say raise, I don't mean doing all the cooking and cleaning and all the games and all that. What I mean by that is having a tutor to make sure the child is well educated, right? Having a nanny for the times that the mom cannot be there, right? So that the things that the mom needs to do are still getting done. Even if it's not the mom, it could be, or a nanny, it could be a grandma, right, who's doing what a nanny would essentially do. Not to say that the child is not going to grow up with a little bit of needing to understand why mommy has to sacrifice, but for the most part, if you have a team of folks that really care about the child's well-being and take the time to pour into the child, being a single mom, let me tell you, I'm telling y'all now, I guarantee you can raise a child that's wholesome and well-to-do off without a father. Now, is that ideal? Is that what we're used to? Is that what we're accustomed to? Is that what we would prefer? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, life is life, bro. A woman of an Ebony K. Williams status, we have to remember, like, I don't care about people's opinions. So your opinion that she's dumb, and clearly she's not as dumb as people like to paint her to be, right? I would never see someone who's winning at life. And when I say winning, I mean that you have the ultimate life that people would want. And because you worked for that shit, you earned that shit. That shit wasn't given to Ebony K. Ebony K. Williams probably, at the very least, I could be even wrong on this, came from a middle-class family, right? Worked her way up, went to college, and got her degrees and made her money. And she's doing a lot better than the lot of us, okay? Which means that she can financially afford to have that child. That's where people are getting this shit fucked up. If she wanted to put her child in private school, guaranteed she's got the money to do it. And she doesn't have to have a husband to do that. If she wanted to pay for a tutor, top-notch tutor, she can do that. If she needed to pay for a nanny for the times that she had to go off and go on, work trips or whatever, she can do that. I think that's where people get the shit backwards. It's completely different than a Shanae in the hood who ain't got no support, no money, and having 2-3 kids with no baby daddy. Those are two completely different realities. That's where I feel like the conversation lacks. When we talk about single moms, first of all, a lot of these men out here be dissing and dogging their own goddamn mama. Okay? There's a lot of single mothers that do not get enough respect and credit that have raised some of the greatest of the greatest of the greatest. When somebody has more money than you, they're able to buy and live the lifestyle that you cannot afford, okay? Regardless of what they did. Now, keep in mind that regardless, when I say regardless, I mean regardless of what they did to get to where they're at, right? I don't care if it's stripping. I don't care if it's honest work. I don't give a damn. They're doing better than somebody else, which regardless of how they get there and however they got there, they were intelligent enough in their ways to get to where they got, regardless. Even these folks that y'all be talking about selling their soul, right? They were smart enough to get in them goddamn rooms. I mean, I'm just saying, if you gonna be the one to sell your soul, at least make some money from it. Don't be the motherfucker that does something stupid and now you in jail and prison all your life. I mean, if I'm going to be a bad guy, I am at least going to be damn good at it. You damn right. Be good at whatever you do. And you cannot knock people when they are there. You have to acknowledge that there is a level of intelligence, whether it be a social intelligence, right? Because that's also possible, right? Book smart, intelligence, right? Whatever the intelligence is, at some point we have to acknowledge it. And Ebony K. Williams, I don't care what y'all say. If y'all hear her speak and you follow her career, you start to learn that even if you disagree with her, she's still a smart woman. Does that make her right about everything? No, but it means that she has a level of intelligence. She can hold an intelligent conversation, unlike a lot of other people. Do we agree with everything she says? No, that doesn't make her any less intelligent. That's like when people tell me Candace Owens is dumb. No, she's not. She's a smart woman. Do you agree with everything she says? No. But one thing's for sure, she's intelligent. Do I think some of the things she talks about is, whatever? Sure. But I would never knock the fact that she's intelligent. And what people do is when you have an emotional bias against someone, now you want to call them dumb. No, they were smart before the emotional bias. They're going to be smart after. This is what people fail to realize. Now, the way in which Ebony K. Williams decides to raise her kid, or any woman who decides to have a kid on their own, right? And their morals and values, if they're good, those morals and values are going to be passed down to the child. That's just a natural given. If the woman's morals are not good, well, then those morals are also going to be passed down to the children. So it's not like this blanket statement that just because you're a single mom, you're a bad mom. Some single women do raise some fine ass kids. Always have. This ain't nothing new. Let me tell y'all something. I got into accounting because my old roommate was a product of a single mom. And the one thing he told me is his mama was able to leave him an inheritance. Grown ass man coming up on more than 50K. Just because of his mama. And the mama was not only able to leave that for her, but also her stepson doing the work I do. So understand this. Women are not, just because they're a woman and they're single, has nothing to do with the quality of the kid. It's all about the level of stability, the level of experience that you can give the child. If you're a kid and you ain't got no money and nothing to your name and you got 3, 4, 5 kids, what you think you finna pass down to them kids? Come on now. A mom with no support, and now she got to work and her kids are at home trying to figure their life out as kids. I mean, that's a different scenario than a woman that's making $1 million and can afford to hire a nanny and everything else that she needs for that individual child. So I'm gonna need y'all to start, thinking for self and stop lying on women. Not all single moms are bad moms. Not all single moms are raising poor children. If that's the case, then what does that say? I mean, about a lot of people in this world. Are we saying that everybody in this world was raised poorly? Because there's a lot of single moms out there, and single motherhood comes at every stage of parenting. So understand that just because a woman gets married, don't mean she ain't about to be a single mom in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So what are we really saying? Are we saying that all men are bad? Because that's essentially what's being said. And I say that for a reason. I know men like to think that, with the father in the home, I don't know that has much to do with it. I get that children are fearful of men and they listen to men, but I mean, I've seen it done so many times where strong women were raising strong, healthy children. But again, those women had money. So let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. With that being said, I'm out. Peace.